over Brexit. She gives in to demands to publish a plan and faces a call from the EU to get on with it.
Time will be short. It's clear that the period for actual negotiations will be shorter than 2 years.
Also tonight, 2 Birmingham men are convicted of passing cash to the terror suspect known as the Man in the Hat.
A huge shake-up on the railways as Network Rail is stripped of control of the tracks.
And why are the smallest things coming in the largest packages?
This is the ITV Evening News with Mary Nightingale and James Mates.
Good evening. The Prime Minister's Brexit plans came under enormous pressure today, both at home and abroad. Facing a Commons revolt, Mrs May was tonight forced to climb down and promised to give MPs a long-awaited plan over the government's exit strategy.
And in Brussels, the EU's chief negotiator outlined some of the difficulties she'll face, warning a deal will have to be thrashed out in just 18 months. This came as the Prime Minister was trying to fly the flag for Britain during a trip to Bahrain. From there, our Deputy Political Editor, Chris Shipp, reports.
It is often claimed Theresa May isn't the kind of politician who seeks a photo opportunity. That may be so, but on Brexit she most definitely found one today. Underneath a huge Union flag on board a large Royal Navy ship docked in the capital of Bahrain, an old British protectorate. Even when she addressed the ship's company on HMS Ocean, Brexit was an issue she could not avoid.
And as Britain steps up to forge a new, positive, confident role for our country on the global stage, the Royal Navy will be an important part of our vision.
But her vision for Brexit, a 2-year negotiation with the EU, which she plans to start next March, was knocked off course today. Not here, but in Brussels, where the man appointed by the EU to drive a hard bargain with the UK set out his timetable for the negotiations, and it was much shorter than many had planned.
All in all, there will be less than 18 months to negotiate. Once again, that is short. Should the UK notify the Council by the end of March 17, as the Prime Minister Theresa May said she would, it is safe to say that negotiation could start a few weeks later and an Article 50 agreement be reached by October 18. October 18.
Downing Street said tonight they had already factored in getting the deal ratified, but they wouldn't say if they knew the EU had given just 18 months for the negotiations from start to finish. In Bahrain, meanwhile, we spoke to the Prime Minister about another one of her battles with her own Tory MPs, a couple of dozen of whom were threatening to support Labour in the House of Commons tomorrow.
Labour have got a motion before Parliament calling, some would say quite justifiably, for a little bit of detail, not a lot, but a little bit of detail about your plan. The trouble that you've got is there are plenty of Conservative MPs who think actually that's a good idea and they may well support Labour on this.
Well, I've said all along that when I'm in a position to be able to give some information, then I will do that. That's why
So why are so many of your own MPs going to vote with Labour?
That's why I've already said that we will be triggering Article 50 by the end of March next year. I have to keep some cards close to my chest. I want to ensure that we get a red, white and blue Brexit. That means a Brexit that is right for the United Kingdom, a Brexit that is the best deal for the UK.
It doesn't look like at the moment that you've got that support in the House of Commons.
People voted to leave the European Union. That's what the government will be delivering.
But within hours of our interview, Downing Street climbed down and said it would make public some kind of plan, but still trigger Article 50 by March next year. Calling her kind of Brexit red, white and blue might have sounded very good here, but it added precisely nothing to the sum of our knowledge of how the UK will untie itself from the EU. Chris Shipp, ITV News, Manama, Bahrain.
And there could be more trouble ahead for the Prime Minister, who's still facing a possible defeat in the Supreme Court. There, justices spent a second day debating whether Mrs May has the right to trigger Article 50 or if MPs should vote on it first. Lawyers representing Gina Miller, who brought the case against the government, said only Parliament has the authority to pull Britain out of EU membership.
So clearly still problems ahead then for the Prime Minister over Brexit. And our political correspondent Libby Wiener is in Brussels tonight. Now, Libby, Michel Barnier's comments are being seen as pretty hard line here. What's the view there?
Well, this was effectively what you might say a political reality check, a very polite one from Michel Barnier, the Frenchman leading the negotiations on behalf of the European Union. He said he didn't know exactly what hard or soft Brexit meant, but he made it clear that what he wanted to see was a fast Brexit. Get on with it was his message. What sort of deal? Well, he did repeat some of the views that we've heard from European leaders before, that Britain couldn't cherry pick the bits of the EU that it wanted, but at the same time he didn't rule out the idea of a transition deal. And as to the question as to whether Britain could start paying into the EU budget in return for access to the single market, well, he didn't rule that out either. So a few straws there for Mrs May to clutch at.
OK, Libby Wiener in Brussels. Thank you.
2 men from Birmingham have been convicted of giving thousands of pounds to the Brussels bombing suspect known as the Man in the Hat. Zakaria Boufasil and Mohammed Al-Ahmed handed over the money to Mohammed Abrini in a park in July last year.
Abrini was caught on CCTV cameras fleeing Brussels airport in March, just before the bombings, which killed 32 people. Our security editor Rohit Katru has more.
8 months before the attacks at Brussels airport, a hotel reservation in Birmingham in the name Mohammed Abrini might be evidence of what was to follow. The Man in the Hat wasn't in the dock, but this trial revealed details about the suspected planner of the Brussels and Paris attacks. The man captured on CCTV on his way to Paris 2 days before the slaughter. During police interviews after his arrest, he admitted he'd travelled to Britain. He took selfies at the Bullring in Birmingham and at Old Trafford in Manchester, but he was here for a different purpose.
He started in London, came to Birmingham, stayed here for a bit, visited a casino and so on, been to Manchester and back. We think all of that other travel and that sort of thing is very superfluous to the primary purpose of his visit, which was to come and collect that money.
Zakaria Boufasil and Mohammed Ahmed supplied that money using overpaid housing benefit. The handover in a park in South Birmingham was recreated by police investigators.
We've now entered the park and are walking through.
On the 3rd day of his trip, Abrini met with Boufasil and Ahmed, who gave him £3,000 in cash.
Thursday, April the 14th, I was arrested.
This man knew both of them and was arrested alongside them.
I was held for a week and questioned about my connection to or knowledge of Ahmed. We did discuss political matters on occasion, talked about what's happening in Syria, but I can't say that he ever expressed any kind of view that I found alarming or anything like that.
But he was released without charge.
I was only filled in with the whole picture when I went on the news website after they'd been charged.
Abrini was questioned by police when he returned to Belgium. His trial will reveal whether they could have prevented what followed. Rohit Katru, ITV News.
Now, Queen's Park Rangers has become the latest club to be drawn into the football sex abuse scandal. The London club today admitted it was aware of child abuse allegations involving a former chief scout. And our sports editor Steve Scott joins me now. So still it goes on. What precisely are the allegations?
Yeah, as you say, this avalanche of allegations seems to sweep up a new club every single day. Queen's Park Rangers, as you point out, is the latest one. The man accused of carrying out sexual offences against youngsters at the club is their former youth development officer, Chris Geiler. Geiler was employed by the club for around 30 years. He left in 2001 and he actually died the following year. Now, ITV News has spoken to several former players today who came up through the ranks at QPR. They said there were rumours about this man throughout his entire time at Queen's Park Rangers. The club have issued a statement today in response to these allegations, saying they take them very seriously, will cooperate fully in any forthcoming investigation, adding any form of abuse has no place in football or society. So, Mary, at the last count, 55 professional and amateur clubs are now caught up in these allegations. It's affecting some 450, mainly former players, and these figures are just increasing by the day.
Steve, thank you.
Government plans to give private rail companies responsibility to look after the tracks they run on have been met with anger from unions. Transport Minister Chris Grayling insists it will improve services for passengers in England.
But the RMT said it was a slippery slope to full privatisation, and as Sally Lockwood reports, it's still not clear exactly how it will work.
The problem of fixing the train lines is an old one. For decades, Network Rail has been in sole charge of maintaining the track, while operators run the trains. Now, after years of strikes, crowding and rising costs, the government has decided this is no way to operate.
This is all about having one team in charge on a day-by-day basis of the track operations, the train operations, the signalling. So it's a joined-up approach. People don't understand why we run the track and the trains separately. Nobody thinks it's a good idea.
The plan is to get operating companies to share responsibility for running the tracks, but this could prove complex. For example, the East Coast Main Line runs almost 400 miles from London to Edinburgh. Network Rail controls and owns the track, but up to 9 separate operators use the line for passenger services, and it's not yet clear who will do what.
This is the 1 o'clock train to Edinburgh. It's on time at the moment, but nearly 20% of these services in the last 2 years have arrived late. The new plans aim to get Network Rail and operators working more closely on repairs and problems to improve this, in theory, making it a smoother experience for customers.
I don't care, I'm afraid. I'd like there to be trains, that work and run on time. That's it, really.
Whether this new proposal of working together will work or not, I rather doubt it.
The unions say the plans are the privatisation of Network Rail by the back door, but this is what they call it.
What this will be is the opportunity to create alliances, essentially, between the train operating companies and Network Rail, so that we work together for the benefit of passengers.
But as commuters in the south endure another day of strike action, improvements can't come soon enough. Sally Lockwood, ITV News.
Still to come, the ITV Evening News, lifting the lid on packaging. We investigate why delivery companies use such big parcels.
This is a big box and a lot of padding for this tiny bottle of nail varnish.
That story and much more after the break. Welcome back. ITV News has found 40% of online shoppers are being sent deliveries with packaging that's way too big, and it's creating an extra 1 million metric tonnes of waste every year. Environmental campaigners say it's time tougher rules were brought in to stop it.
Yes, and many of you have been sharing your experiences online. Gemma Michelle was surprised at the size of the packaging used to send her a small pin badge. Emily Catford went one better with this large box, which was for the delivery of a single ring. And the magician, Darren Brown, posted a photo of 2 large boxes used to send him 2 separate tea towels. Our consumer editor, Chris Choi, reports on the stocking fillers that'll fill up your bin.
Whatever you actually order online this Christmas, this is what you're likely to get. A mass of plastic, cardboard and bubble wrap. Mary Whittington was so amazed at this packaging, she took a photo and even kept the box.
Seeing such a huge box for such a small item, absolutely amazed. Couldn't understand why they would put it into such a large box when it could easily have gone into a jiffy pack.
We ordered items from some of Britain's biggest online retailers. From Debenhams, a pen in quite a big box and with lots of bubble wrap. And the pen, well, it's got its own box. From House of Fraser, a delivery of 1 roll of wrapping paper, but look what comes with it. All of this padding, about 8 metres long, would you believe, and 2 different kinds of bubble wrap, all for this. Next, John Lewis. And this is a big box and a lot of padding for this tiny bottle of nail varnish. When we contacted the companies, they told us they are all fully committed to reducing packaging and that tens of thousands of tonnes has already been removed and more will be in future.
an awful lot of these.
We showed our deliveries to an environmental campaigner.
This is a big environmental problem, especially over the Christmas period, in terms of the amount of waste energy, the amount of trees that are chopped down, and there's so much more retailers can be doing about it.
Whether it's small beauty products in a big box, Christmas decorations in a bag, then in a box, or an extremely well-wrapped household tool, firms do need enough packaging to protect our goods, but they also pledge improvements. Many customers are waiting for those promises to be delivered, and without any padding. Chris Choi, ITV News.
You can see more examples on our website, and we'd love to see yours too. The address itv.com/news.
Now, there is real hope tonight that thousands of jobs are about to be saved at Tata Steel Works in Port Talbot. The plant's Indian owners are thought to be announcing a deal tomorrow. And Tata's UK business was put up for sale in March. And our Wales correspondent Rupert Evelyn is outside the Port Talbot plant tonight. Now, this could be really welcome news, couldn't it, Rupert?
Absolutely. One worker I spoke to earlier on today said we're in a completely different situation this Christmas than we were last Christmas, or indeed at the beginning of this year. This plant was threatened with closure. I think that was a very genuine and real prospect. It's been through all manner of roller coaster rides in order to get to this point, where I think tomorrow we will hear a plan that needs to be put to staff for them to agree on, that will secure the future of this site for a number of years. My understanding is that we're looking around about the 5 to 6 year mark, which is better than what the unions say is their minimum expectation of a 2-year plan to save it. And then there's the very important issue of the pension scheme. They still run here at Tata a final salary, a defined benefit scheme. It's very expensive. That is likely to be closed in favour of something that is less generous. But as I say, staff are going to have to agree on a deal.
Right, Rupert Evelyn in Port Talbot in Wales. Thank you.
Peter Vaughan, best known for playing Grouchy in the comedy series Porridge, has died.
Hello, Grouty.
Hello, Fletch.
Hello, Grouty.
Goodbye, Gobbler.
Despite appearing in just 3 episodes, the actor's portrayal of menacing prisoner Harry Grout won him many fans.
In later years, he became popular with a new generation as Aemon Targaryen in the hit series Game of Thrones. He died this morning, aged 93, with his family by his side.
And finally tonight, 5 years ago, the Military Wives Choir famously pipped Simon Cowell's band Little Mix to claim the Christmas #1. Their song, Wherever You Are, was a love poem to partners serving abroad.
Now the group are back, hoping to repeat that success with a new song with a rather familiar theme. They tell Nina Nana why Home for Christmas means so much to them and thousands of other women.
It is one of the best-known Christmas carols, but here with words adapted to reflect the lives of a group of women for whom the festive season can be anything but festive. These are military wives from 18 bases around the UK. They've recorded Home for Christmas because that is the time when, more often than not, their partners are serving abroad. Gigi Tomlin's husband was in Iraq when his daughter was born. She accepts the months of separation, but says being in a choir has had a huge impact on her.
It isn't just about singing, it's the rehearsals are places of mutual support and community where individual wives can feel valued and special and needed, and they can release.
It was a success of this Military Wives Choir 5 years ago in getting a #1 that has inspired a choral movement in British military bases. There are now 74 such choirs around the world involving 2,500 women raising money for charity. Elizabeth Calvert's husband is currently serving on a submarine. Christmas for her family will be whenever he returns.
Some families will celebrate Christmas when they get home. For me, that will be springtime.
So you're going to have Christmas at springtime?
It looks like that, yeah.
You go along to choir often feeling a bit tired and you've had all week dealing with everything by yourself, and then you walk out of there feeling rejuvenated really and full of energy again.
And whilst the wives have been busy recording an album, those supporting their husbands serving abroad say the men are benefiting too.
They'll take comfort from knowing that just as much as they are missed, they're missing their families at home, and to know that they're with others going through the same experience, that will help them.
They may not have their loved ones home for Christmas, but singing is helping them bear the separation. Nina Nanar, ITV News.
Wonderful. And that's all for now. Raggy Omar's here with news at 10.
But from all the team here, have a very good evening. Good night.
Bye-bye.